they obviously do go have sex with the daughters of man. The point of that is, though, that these angels are not following.
They're not. Yeah, they're not
doing what they're
proper
supposed
place.
to be doing. That's my point. Like. Whoa. Is this what we look like?
I think so. Yeah.
This is crazy.
I know. I kind of, I was looking like a blue waveform for almost a year or so. Just kind of metabolized this,
Over a year, we were just faceless entities.
That's right. Just disembodied voices, really.
That's all we were.
Yeah.
And here's the stupid thing, Wyatt. I said, hey, this week we're putting our faces on YouTube and all the different things. Pick a nice face for us, and this is what you gave us.
Well, yeah. I think it suits us, And
here's what sure, you gave me the taller jeans.
Yeah.
We're sitting down. Nobody's going to see how tall I am.
Okay, but I still gave you the taller jeans. That's what matters. So you're welcome. You're welcome. See?
You got a really nice beard, and I got whatever this is.
What can I say? You're taller. Maybe we could do some standing up podcasts,
We're never going to do a standing up podcast.
I'm just, maybe.
Just like how you said you were going to take me out to dinner, and you've never done that.
Well, okay.
Empty promises.
Now we're bringing up old fights.
Hey, episode 65. Hey, guess what? We are partying. We are on video.
Oh, yes.
How exciting is that? All right, sorry, everybody. I'll take that off. Hey, episode 65 of the Stand Firm podcast. I am Quintin.
I'm Wyatt.
And this is the podcast where two real Christians get together and have honest conversations, and we discover some hard truths.
That's right.
I hope you enjoyed my little skit at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I came up with that on the spot. That was all off the dome. That was all right. Improv, if you will. We're pretty good at this stuff. We're learning how this goes. How much do we acknowledge the camera? How much do we do that?
I don't know.
How
much do I stare into the camera, and talk to the viewer directly,
Like, how much does he do that? I
don't know.
So this is really where we are.
Yeah. This is the studio.
This is actually what goes on. And you know what? We changed it around. So unless you've been a guest on this podcast, you're never going to know what it really looks like.
Never really know. And they still don't know what most of the room looks like.
No.
That's the best part.
And we're never going to show you.
Nope. Never, ever.
Take what you get. Where does that door behind Wyatt go?
It goes into Narnia. Obviously, because we're short people, and we have portals everywhere, okay? Yes, we do meet under the big oak tree, but that's only on Thursdays. And you're not invited if you're over 6 foot. Quintin.
Dude, I'm always at the oak tree. I'm always at the oak tree.
Yeah, you're trimming the branches, man. I'm in the roots. I'm baking cookies inside the tree.
All right, look. We get video, and we don't know how to act.
That's right. Yeah.
We're just too excited. All right. Well, this has been, in all seriousness, this has been in the making since we really started this thing. We've been wanting to get, video underway, and then we realized how much stuff was going to go into it. So we just
kind of postponed it for a minute.
Kind of pushed it away a little bit, but that's okay because we're here now. We are recording our faces, and if you are like, they're a little ugly, you can always just listen to it. You don't have to watch us.
That's true.
You don't have to watch us. You can just listen.
We're faces for radio, but for some reason we're putting our faces out now.
Yeah. Maybe this is actually going to be bad.
You never know.
Maybe the people seeing our faces is going to be a bad thing.
You never know. What can you do?
No. Anyways, here we are. We are very excited. We're very excited to be bringing video to you. So if you're watching this now, I hope you enjoy.
Yeah.
I I don't know. There's not much more acknowledging of it that we can do.
No, have a watch, have a listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quintin,
Yes, sir.
how was your week? Not your day.
My week. You know what? I've had 2 pretty rough weeks, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
It's been a mess. You know, like I don't want to say a mess. Like there's been a lot going on. So, like I'll just do this week. So, or I guess I'll do last week. You know, anyway, I'm losing track of what's going on.
It's all blending together, man.
It's all blending together. No, so this week, last week, good night. Holy cow. Last week, Tuesday and Wednesday in Cincinnati for a training.
Okay.
Got back on Thursday, and I never mentioned this on last week's podcast, because I don't know why, because we had talked about it before we actually started recording, so I never thought to bring it up. But we got back from this training, and I was driving my truck. I was on the way to work. I was on 65, and I just felt a pop and a lurch, and got off the interstate. The truck started shuddering like terribly.
Yeah.
And I got out of my truck and it was on fire.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I got out of my truck and my rear differential was in flames. So I ran away from it, called the fire department. I dialed 911 and then they sent out the right guys. I was worried they were going to send out ambulances, and I was like, guys, just so you know, this is a fire.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm not hurt.
No, I wasn't really worried about that. I told her it was a fire.
Up.
I said this probably is not that big of a deal, but my truck's kind of on fire and it's close to the gas tank, so you might want to get out here.
So, I'm not getting in it.
Yeah. So anyways, they came out, put everything out, and I got a hold of insurance, did the whole rigmarole. They gave me a rental car. Up until today, I had a little rental car to drive, but unfortunately, they denied my claim.
That's not good.
They denied
It's not
me.
a fun day.
I thought now that I have a wife, I would be removed from the feeling of rejection.
Yeah.
But no.
No?
That is fine. It was a mechanical issue. Whatever. What can you do, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, we're in the process of getting that all figured out. That's kind of been like 2 weeks bled together. Because I'm losing track. As you can tell, it took me 3 tries to figure out which week we're on.
Yeah. Well, and that's your focus for the week too. So it's like if that's what your mind's focused on, that's what this time is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter really about weeks or so, I guess,
Yeah. So that's kind of been what I've been dealing with. I've been talking to the auto shop, trying to figure out what are we gonna do about this.
Yeah.
How are we gonna get this fixed? So Wyatt is definitely familiar with the truck issues.
Absolutely. I am so sick and tired of them. Check engine light does pop on every once in a while in my truck, and I just ignore it because the truck still drives. So
that's what
we're all good.
I would just ignore it because at that point you're looking at a new vehicle. Something else goes wrong with that engine. Well, you have a warranty on it now, don't you?
On the engine, not on anything else. Yeah, and I've kind of hit that point where, see, I don't know. I kind of debate it. If like the transmission goes out, would I actually fix it? Because it's less than the engine to fix or replace, but do I really just want to do that? I don't know. I'm kind of at that breaking point where it's like something else goes wrong. I'm just going to spend the money to just not deal with those problems.
Right.
And I would most likely say, again, I go back and forth whether I'd trade it in or if I just buy the other car, drive my old one currently, and then send that immediately to the shop and just say, fix every problem that you see on it, because I know when you buy a new car, it's got problems too.
Yeah.
So it's like, we'll get that out of the way and then sell my other car. Because my truck is really nice. I feel like I'd get more if I sold it than I traded it in, because the trading guys would just look at it and say, 07 with 300-some thousand miles on it.
But it's a brand new engine.
It's a brand new engine, yeah.
So
I don't know. I go back and forth on it, but hopefully I won't have to do it at all. Because I've made some nice additions to it. I've got a truck bed cover on it. I had to tint the windows, put some new speakers in it. It's like I've made it nice. I've made it mine, and I like it too.
Yeah, it's
so
nice.
you know, just trying to keep what's mine just working.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's kind of where my truck was. It was 210,000 miles and whatever was up there. But that dang differential.
yeah. Should have checked your rear diff
Dude,
oil.
that's the thing. The diff oil. I mean, it was out. That's what essentially happened. It ran out of oil, and then everything, just burn up. So people told me, and you know what? Here, we might put this on the internet, and everybody's gonna be like, "Yeah, check your diff oil, moron." But like, who does that?
Yeah, no, I've never heard of anyone doing that. I'd be scared to.
Yeah, I'd be scared.
You're gonna mess with the rear diff, and then you mess it up. It's like that's an expensive fix.
I'd be worried that I would like break a seal, or I'd bust something up, and then I'd be having to, pay to get that fixed. So there's a guy I was talking to about this, and he said, check your diff oil, and I was like, and maybe that's probably the smart thing to do.
Yeah,
is to check it. That's probably the smart thing. But I didn't think to do that. And I've never heard anybody ever tell me check diff oil. I don't even know how to do that. I said, how do you even do that? They said, well, you crack the case, and you put your fingers in there and see if you've got oil. I'm like, really?
Yeah, I don't want to crack that case because you're breaking a seal.
Yeah.
Doing that. And then you're just, you're praying that it doesn't leak afterwards after you put everything back together.
Yeah.
So
you're kind of in a rough position. I mean, the thing with the differential is like you're just kind of hoping.
Yeah.
Nothing ever really goes wrong with it. But, so, I mean, it kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
It could have been much worse. I mean, something could have broke and I could have sent me flying off the interstate. But it might have been better, though, to just smack a couple guardrails and then the truck would have been totaled and I wouldn't have had to worry about it.
Yeah. I don't know. But see how it works out,
Yeah. So I'm not too tore up about it, but it's a little unfortunate. But, fortunately, I have the opportunity to work overtime.
That's true.
So I've been doing that, and it'll be, maybe a couple months of 50-hour weeks, and it won't take that long to get the money. But what I'm thinking is doing that for a little while and then getting, Emma's car paid down, and then, hey, we could be car payment free.
That's right.
And that would be really nice.
Yeah.
So...
Man, my week's been pretty good. Every time you ask me that, for some reason, I didn't do anything in the week.
Loser.
I don't know. It's mainly just been grinding, going to the gym in the mornings, trying to.
Literally grinding, like, those old, like, 2016 grinding challenges. That's what he does all week. It's awful.
What do you mean grinding?
Try being his friend.
What do you mean?
You've never seen the grind?
What do you mean?
Baby,
like
grind on me.
No.
You've never seen that?
No, but I understand what you're saying.
You've never heard of that trend? The dance move?
Yeah, I know the dance move, but I never heard about the trend and stuff.
You've never seen
No.
Were you ever on like Musical.ly or anything like that?
No, I wasn't on Musical.ly.
Dude.
Were you on Musical.ly?
It was like TikTok before TikTok.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I wasn't into the Musical.lys because I always saw the girls in class doing Musical.lys. It's like, man, that's cringy.
Well, I think it was like Vine too. Anyways,
I think there were
was
other
like a
things
grind.
on it.
It's kind of like a. It's like a R-rated worm, I guess. I'll leave it at that.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not doing any of that. I'm just going.
That's
going
what
to the gym.
Wyatt's doing all week.
Yeah. No.
That was such a stupid rabbit trail. I'm so sorry.
So no, I've been just going to the gym, going to work. We've been doing more work at these bathroom remodels, and you've seen we're doing more work at home in the upstairs. We're redoing carpet.
But the carpet looks really great.
It is so nice. It is so fluffy, and we have it's old carpet, right? So it's matted down and things like that. And then you walk into one of the new rooms with new carpet, and it's like you're on a cloud. It feels fantastic.
Really. I gotta say, I took my shoes off. My shoes are never off here, and I took them off.
Yeah,
because this carpet feels so nice.
It is so nice, brand new. I mean, it still smells like new carpet in here.
It does. No, you walk in and you just get smacked in the face with new carpet smell.
New carpet. Yep.
Yeah.
So no, it's just been a lot of that. I forgot to set my alarm. That was actually today. So then I just woke up and I was like, man, I feel so good. something's wrong. So then
It's awfully bright outside.
well, see, it wasn't bright. Oh, I've got blackout curtains.
Oh.
So, yeah, so I woke up and checked. So I put a lot of, just like a sock or something over the blinking lights because I've got a computer and my alarm clock in my room. So I just put those over it because I like to get it as like dark as possible.
Right.
I like living in a dark, cold cave.
I like that to sleep too, but
Yeah, I've got 2 fans going. It's great. It's a wind tunnel. Windows open. It's fantastic.
Emma she doesn't like dark, sleeping in the dark.
Really?
So we had to play the TV. No noise.
Okay.
But I thought that was going to be like a huge no-go. I thought I was going to have to get like a sleep mask and stuff when we got married. I've gotten used to it, but when she's like on vacation or something, it's nice to sleep in a dark room. But you get used to the TV, and it's a little weird. You're kind of like don't like it anymore.
Really?
But I used to be like, get it as dark as it can.
Oh, absolutely. And that's how I am. I almost think about getting a sleep mask. But then my alarm clock wouldn't work because I've got a sunrise alarm clock and it's across the room. So when it does go off, you have to get up. Otherwise, it's only getting brighter. And when it reaches its full brightness, then it's chirping at you. So it's like, all right, fine. Yeah. So it's real nice. But no, that didn't go off. And
why didn't it go off?
Well, I didn't set it. I hadn't set it the night before, so then I woke up. I was like, I feel good, and I also had to go to the bathroom, so I was like, all right, I'm going to get up anyway. And I moved the sock over my alarm clock, and it was like 6:15. It's like, oh, man, I slept in normally, because how early I wake up. So I was like, okay, well, I've skipped the gym. I just need to shower and eat, because normally, by 6:15, I'm making breakfast.
Okay, we have we cut Wyatt off mid-conversation here.
Yeah.
Come here. Here, this is what Emma looks like, too.
That's right.
This is the face.
Social media director and wife of Quintin.
And wife of me. There's your camera to look into. There you go. All right, sorry not to interrupt Wyatt's alarm clock. She just decided to join us rudely in the middle of the podcast.
Yeah, no problem. Heard a knock at the door and thought the dog was banging his head against it. We got some, I wouldn't call them stupid, but you might be able to call them that. So they're not the smartest.
They're good dogs.
They're good dogs. Absolutely. 100%.
They are. I think Millie's gotten so excited she's thrown up on the floor when I've arrived.
She's done that several times with other people. Yeah. So, but anyway, so I'm normally showered and I'm eating breakfast. So it's like, okay, I just did that and I got to work maybe a minute late or something. So it wasn't bad at all. So did that. Again, I felt great. I didn't take any caffeine or anything this morning and I'm just charged up. I'm slowly starting to get tired, but not near as bad as I normally am. Because normally, again, when I wake up super early, it's like I'm getting tired at 5 o'clock. And I feel super old, but it's like, wait a minute. No. I was up this early. And people around me cannot fathom this.
Well, that's exactly.
It's great.
I mean, I've been, the past 2 days I've gotten up early to get into work early. I'm usually up at my alarm usually goes off at 5, but now it's been going off at 4:30. So I guess I'm not really losing too much sleep, but it feels
it feels like it, yeah.
Well, I mean, 30 minutes, and I'm waking up, and it's like if it goes off at 5, I can lay in bed for a little bit longer. I don't have to roll out of bed till 5:30. Now I'm have to get up at 4:30 so I can shower and everything and get to work by 6. But I know I texted you last night, which I can never tell when you go to bed because it might be 8 o'clock. I might not get a response again, or I text you at 9:30 and you might get me back.
It is anywhere between the earliest. I don't know. The earliest kind of normal time is 8 o'clock. I think I've done it maybe once or twice when I went to bed before 8, and that was because something happened and I'm crashing. So normally the earliest is 8 o'clock, but it's generally around 8:30 to 9. And if I'm wanting to stay up late, it'd be 9:30 to 10.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Crazy man.
I know. I get a little wild sometimes. Woo. Yeah. Bedtime, 9 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah. No, we're usually laid down by 10 o'clock.
Okay. Yeah.
Usually. On a really late night, I might stay up till 11. Yeah. But I can't really push it much farther than 11. On
the weekends, and I'm about there too. Especially if I'm driving to Fort Wayne, then I'm back at 9:30 or so. Then I chill out. So
I'm talking on weekdays.
Oh, weekdays? Oh yeah, no, I can't do that. I mean, normally it's 8:30 to 9. That's
Right.
generally about it.
I mean, that's fine. Like, you know,
It really depends on what I'm doing in the evening too. Because if
Yeah.
I'm running and doing stuff, and then I get home, a lot of times I'll stay up like closer to 9. But if I get home and I have nothing to do,
closer to 9. Ooh.
you're so funny. But if I don't have anything to do, a lot of times I just get bored. And I
Right,
don't
I get
understand.
that.
Man, my girlfriend is like the exact opposite. She just wants to stay up till like 2. And
mean,
it's like,
well,
wait a minute, but I'm
She's
bored
up
and
to 2? Yeah. That's insane.
she's done it. She's done it a few times where she's been up so long that I text good morning and she goes, "Oh, I need to go to sleep."
Oh, that's crazy.
And yeah, she won't text good morning.
But you're texting good morning at like 4:30.
Yeah.
So anyways,
Earliest normally is about 4:15, and then I'm up. I chill out, for like 15 minutes or so. I'm normally getting my shoes on, getting ready.
yeah.
Get to the gym 4:45, and then I'm working out till about 5:50 ish.
Yeah.
And then I come home and I do all that stuff. But man, I just can't. Because again, I work. I'm a plumber. I work kind of a very strenuous job. At least some days. I mean, some days we're not doing anything, but I normally do that, and then I've either got stuff after work or, like I said, it's like we have a dig job one day and I'm in a trench all day. I'm tired. I don't have the energy to go to the gym. So, I don't know. It seems like it works best for me, but it is strenuous. And there's a lot of days like today, it's like where you just don't, and I've got 2 alarms on my alarm clock. I've got 2 presets. It's like one is the gym and one is when I skip the gym.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you just can't. And I get that. But yeah, today threw me off because I texted you last night. You didn't get back with me, but I was like, well, he probably is asleep because it was 8:30. But then, like this morning, I got up 4:30 expecting to see a text from Wyatt.
That's true, yeah.
And there was nothing. And then I got ready, showered and everything, and it was like 6 o'clock, and I was leaving the house, and still nothing from Wyatt. I was like, is he like ditching me? Is he dodging me? I'm like, I guess that's fine. Then sure enough, like 7:15 or whatever, you texted me.
Okay, so that was when I was at work. But yeah, no, I slept.
Because he probably rushed like way through
yeah.
everything. Like I get that, but I was like,
man, I slept great.
like, this is so not like Wyatt. Because if I text you the night before, I got a text back at like 4:15. Like it says like an hour ago you got a text from Wyatt, and I'm just now waking up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, well, even on like Saturdays is the crazy. If I text you on like a Friday night or you text me on a Saturday morning,
I'm up about 7 o'clock. That's me sleeping in, dude.
though,
That's good sleep.
I will sleep until, I don't know, 9 or 10.
Dude, you're wild like that. I can't do that. I wake up and I'm up. You will wake up and maybe like go back to sleep or something, and you stay till like 9 or 10. It's like at about 7:30, that's when I'm up. I can't sleep anymore.
But I can't. Like, I'll wake up, but I can go back to sleep. And that's the thing. I'll wake up, and it will say you've texted me like an hour ago on a Saturday, for example, and I'll go back to sleep, and then it's another like 2 hours ago Wyatt texted you. It's like, whatever.
Yeah. No, you're getting your sleep. But yeah, 8:30 to like 6:15. Oh man, I feel great. I really do. It is great.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff. That's a lot of sleep. 8:30 to 6:15.
Oh, it was so nice. It was so good.
Well,
I was really tired yesterday. I was like crashing. I was like, okay, I text girlfriend good night and just out.
Right. Well, I called my dad this morning because I texted you about picking me up after work, and I called my dad this morning on the way to work. I was like, why hasn't got back with me? So if he doesn't, can you? And he's like, well, he may still be asleep. I know he's really tired at encouragement night. He even commented that you were so tired.
Yeah. No, I was not talking. And well, okay, half of it is because I've started my cut, getting ready for summer, which is not the funnest to start. Like yesterday, it's because I was hungry too as well. And I'm obviously not starving myself, but just trying to, when you're used to eating like Oreos and stuff, and I was like just eating whatever I wanted all the time.
Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, this is, it's about 2,600 calories. So it's like, this is what I got. So I was getting towards the end of it. So it's just, when I get hungry, I also get kind of quiet. And I was that tired. I really was that tired.
Yeah.
And So yeah, I did have a good time at encouragement night. I hope I didn't come off as mean to especially like the new couple at church, the newer couple at church.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't come off as mean because I didn't mean it as mean, but I just, when I get in that mood, it's like I just don't want to talk. I just kind of want to listen.
Well, that's one thing about you though. It's like you can tell when you've hit your point.
Yeah,
yeah. I can tell when Wyatt's hit his. I don't want anything to do with anything right now.
Yeah, I get like that sometimes.
Yeah, you do. That's okay.
Sorry.
Anyways, now that we're like basically old men and we're talking about how much we sleep and I'm sure this is really thrilling conversation for everybody to sit in and
Absolutely.
listen to. How about we get to the actual point of the podcast?
Yeah.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Before we jump into this really thrilling conversation that we have prepared today, let's take a moment to thank the people that have gotten us to where we are today.
Yeah, we should.
Yes, we probably should.
Yep.
We probably should.
Sure. Yeah.
Hey, real quick before we jump into everything, we want to thank the people that have allowed us to get where we are with the video, with the audio from the very beginning. That's Hope First Wesleyan. They're more than just a financial sponsor or somebody that gives us the things we have. Also, it's both of our home churches, our home communities, our home families, and we want to thank them for that and for allowing us to be here and in doing that. And so
we'll get into the episode.
This is our thank you.
Yeah,
Wyatt's the most appreciative.
Thank you.
All right, let's jump into it. So last week, we're working our way through our series on Genesis, and I think last week we finished up with chapter 4, and we talked about Cain and Abel, and we went through that story, and we began to talk about Cain's family line and some of his heritage and some of the interesting points and notes with that. So this week, we're going to start here in chapter 5 and get as far as we can through, but we want to kind of try to get through the flood here in this episode and just have some conversation about it and talk about it. Things are, like we said quite a bit last week, like things are starting to get pretty interesting.
Yeah. I do like the shift that you're saying, because this is the shift from like we said, a personal, almost familial environment between, it's God, Adam and Eve, God, Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, this thing. So we're seeing now that it's more of a civilization, and we're seeing, these people lived for, 960 years having kids after kids. So, I mean, you're likely seeing, hundreds of thousands, if not even more, of people, So I find it interesting, and it's a cool chapter in the book. In the entire Bible, because it's such a unique one that you don't ever see this again. Everything else from here is dealing with nations and civilizations and how do like families and people act in a civilization, but it's always again in a civilization. So, and how nations should treat each other.
Yeah. Yeah, right. A lot of people, a lot of years here. People living for a long time in this period.
A lot of Old Testament names. So sorry if we butcher all of them.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. We do apologize.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of the goal today, is just starting chapter 5, and we're just going to work our way through and kind of see how far we can get here with that. So I'm going to start us out, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
Yeah.
So when God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created them male and female and blessed them. And when they were created, he called them man. When Adam had lived 130 years, again, long time.
Wow.
Old people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really interesting. It's a super interesting note, though, because it's something you just don't think about. I mean, we put scripture into what we can understand and what we know. Mm-hmm. And, you think of somebody's whole life, you're thinking, 85, 90 at the max, right?
Yeah, you have kids around 30, not 130.
Yeah. No, exactly. So just interesting. So Adam had lived 130 years. He had a son in his own likeness, in his own image, and he named him Seth. After Seth was born, Adam lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Adam lived 930 years, and then he died. So, again, Adam continued on and had another son said that he had daughters, and I mean, he's having these kids at 800 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he lived all the way to 930 years old. So he saw, I mean, think about how much Adam saw in that time frame. And this is going to get important when we get into our conversation on the flood, is like, how much actually happened? How much is taking place? How much is the world changing? I mean, we mentioned this briefly last week whenever we read in chapter 4, verse 26, the end of verse 26, where it said, "At that time, men began to call on the name of the Lord." Mm-hmm. So from that point, from you see the story of Cain and Abel, from just that short chapter 4, you're seeing it to where people have obviously removed themselves from the Lord, and now they're beginning to turn back. Mm-hmm. So think about all the things that Adam is seeing in this 930 years of life, and this is all prior to the flood. So if you're thinking, how did the world get so bad, in such a short time? It really wasn't. I mean, we're talking thousands of years here before the flood. So the world had a lot of time to evolve and turn into a kind of a place that God wanted to kind of, I guess, restart, for lack of better words.
Oh yeah, you could definitely see the spiral downward, and it didn't spiral downward and again like 200 years. No, it took a lot longer than you'd think, I guess. But yeah, I think it's also interesting to see, Adam lives 930 years. Like, imagine how many descendants that he either met or at least knew of. Yeah. When you have these, it starts off slow, but again, just because we multiply, right? It's an exponential growth. The more families you have, the more kids you have, meaning the more families you have and the more kids you have.
Yeah.
So it's just all growing on itself. So I almost wonder how many kids did he know he had, or had he met, or how many kids did he meet versus how many did he know of in that 930 years? Because you got to think, I mean, that's a lot of people, and your subsequent generations are all having kids as well.
Right.
So again, like I said, it's just multiplication.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's a good point too. You bring up how many people, how many of his grandkids did he meet? Great grandchildren, and I mean, there's so many people.
Yeah, and like I said, you also got to think about when you have. I think there's a point where your family starts feeling more like a nation, more like a city, rather than a family. Because again, it's like, okay, you're my fifth cousin twice removed or whatever. I don't know you. I've never seen you, right? So when you have this many people, you're also seeing, I think, the dynamics of nations, and this is really the first that we're seeing of it.
Yeah. So, Wyatt, do you want to continue on here in right after in verse 6 here?
Yep. So it says, "When Seth had lived 105 years, he became the father of Enosh. After he became the father of Enosh, Seth lived 807 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Seth lived a total of 912 years, and then he died. When Enosh lived 90 years, he became the father of Kenan. After he had become the father of Kenan, Enosh lived 815 years, and he had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Enosh lived a total of 905 years, and then he died. When Kenan had lived 70 years, he became the father of Mahalalel. See, this is Mahalalel. After he became the father of Mahalalel, Kenan lived 840 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Kenan lived 910 years, and then he died. Mahalalel lived 65 years and became the father of Jared. After he became the father of Jared, Mahalalel lived 830 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Mahalalel lived a total of 895 years, and then he died. When Jared lived 162 years, he became the father of Enoch. After he became the father of Enoch, Jared lived 800 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Jared lived a total of 962 years, and then he died. When Enoch had lived 65 years, he became the father of Methuselah. After he became the father of Methuselah, Enoch walked faithfully with God for 300 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Enoch lived a total of 365 years. Enoch walked faithfully with God, and then he was no more, because God took him away. And so I kind of ask you, why did God take him away? Why did God take Enoch away? You know, we're seeing all of these people who lived almost 1,000 years with all of these other sons and all of these other daughters, and yet Enoch is the only person that we see taken away.
I say it's interesting because it's the first person you see say taken
Yeah.
away with God. Another thing that's interesting is that you also see it mentioned here in, let's see, in 22 where he walked with God. It's the first person where it says he became the father of Methuselah. Enoch walked with God 300 years and had other sons and daughters. So it's interesting that like he's described in a different matter, and it's Enoch has a lot of interesting things around him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's funny because not a lot of it is mentioned directly here in Genesis. You won't. I mean, we'll see as we continue on here into verse 6 something interesting as well, which we'll get into. But I mean, I feel like we could almost have a full episode on.
Oh, absolutely.
On this
talking
guy.
about Enoch and even other texts that, extra biblical texts, like the book of Enoch, which, scholars again do not confirm that the book of Enoch is the holy word inspired by God, like we see in the Bible.
It's not canonized scripture.
No, it is not. But yeah, I just think it's interesting because, we see it here that he faithfully walked with God, but we also see in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6, and it says, "And it is impossible to please God without faith. Anyone who wants to come to him must first believe that God exists and that he rewards those who sincerely seek him." So again, I think we're already seeing the evidence of what Jesus is talking about of it is by faith, and it's faith that you come through. It's not these works, and it's not these just sacrifices, right?
Yeah.
So I really think that's interesting.
Yeah, I think this is really, really interesting stuff. This guy gave birth to this guy.
Genealogy.
This guy, then this guy died, but then his son gave birth to this guy, and this. Really thrilling stuff.
If you really want a thrill seeker, man, just look at the genealogy of Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
It's riveting.
It's crazy. No, it is interesting stuff. But yeah, so continuing on here in verse 25. When Methuselah had lived 187 years, he became the father of Lamech. And after he became the father of Lamech, Methuselah lived 782 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Methuselah lived 969 years, and then he died. When Lamech had lived 182 years, he had a son. He named him Noah. This is interesting. So, this is actually my dad's Bible, and he's had it for, I don't even know. I think it said that he got this Bible in, says, it's I think prior to 2003. He's had this over 20 years, but he gave it to me, and so all of his notes are in here. And Genesis it looks like it's packed full. He's went through it quite a bit. I mean, this whole Bible's full of stuff. But he circled Noah, he circled the name, it's just interesting. You know what I mean? It's always fun when you're going through genealogy, and it's like, oh, I know that name. That's an interesting, I don't know, stupid note, but I just think it's fun. It's circled Noah. He named him Noah and said, "He will comfort us in labor and painful toil of our hands caused by the ground the Lord has cursed." After Noah was born, Lamech lived 595 years and had other sons and daughters. Altogether, Lamech lived 777 years, and then he died. After Noah was 500 years old, he became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Why couldn't my parents name me Ham?
Ham? You wouldn't want to be Japheth?
No. The thing that's interesting is that the father of Noah lived the perfect amount of years.
Yeah.
777.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Trinity of Trinities. It's really cool.
So anyway, back to what I said earlier, with thousands of years. I mean, we're looking at a lot of time.
Oh, absolutely.
Place here. A lot of thousands and thousands of years has now taken place prior to this flood. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting to see how much time. So within all this time, things began to turn. Like we talked about and like we hinted at, man begins to kind of do what man does. It kind of goes its own way.
Mm-hmm.
And so we begin to see some of the results of that. So jumping into chapter 6 here, it's kind of the direct, I guess, the effect. Like we see the cause and then we see the effect of what's happening here. So jumping into verse 6, it says, "When men began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit will not contend with man forever, for he is mortal. His days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of men and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. The Lord saw how great man's wickedness on earth had become, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil all the time." So a couple really interesting things here. We see some things going on that, well, how do we explain this? We see something called the Nephilim. We see sons of God coming and sleeping and having children with the daughters of man. What does that mean? So if this caught your attention, coming up here in April, we have a dedicated episode to this that we're really excited about. But to briefly hit on it today, there's a couple different theories and a couple different, speculations on who exactly the Nephilim were and who exactly the sons of God were and who the daughters of man were. If you look at Scripture hermeneutically, the conclusion you draw is that the sons of God are angels, and the daughters of man are daughters of man, and then that the offspring of these two become the Nephilim, which we could see are like giants. It talks about them being heroes and men of renown. And I don't want to dive too much into this Nephilim conversation because we do have a dedicated episode coming up here before long. But it's a really interesting conversation to have. And when Wyatt mentioned, the book of Enoch, there's a lot about the Nephilim in there and in that book. But don't think we're just skimming over this. Like, there's so much I just want to spill and to start talking about. But I want to hold it for just a couple months.
Yeah, you don't want to open up a can of worms and then, spend 10 minutes on it.
We're 40 minutes into an episode here. I don't want to dump another, hour long of material on you.
Yeah.
But no, we're not skipping over this. And this is something if it's really catching your eye and you don't want to wait so long, look into the Nephilim. It's really interesting and there's so many interesting things on it.
Well, I think especially, the phrase sons of God.
Yeah.
Because it's only used 3 other times in the Bible.
Yeah.
And they're all in the book of Job, too, which is really interesting. And they're all talking about angels. They're talking about angelic beings.
I didn't want to bring all this up. You're going to get me start talking on it, and then we're going to have to cut it loose. So, anyway, so you have that. But what's interesting is right after the Nephilim were talked about, you then see the Lord's disdain. You see his disappointment. Which is interesting. You're thinking, well, we see Jesus say that, there's no, marrying in heaven, so we can assume that there's no, angels can't just go and have sex. That's not something that happens.
Well, he talks about, he says no one is given or taken in marriage, but he doesn't ever talk about if angels do have a sex. And this is why I do genuinely believe that, when they're talking about the sons of God, I do think they're talking about the angels, and again, we'll get more into that later. But yeah, I do think that, they abide by their place, so they, I guess, don't, but I don't think they're incapable of it. I guess if that makes any sense.
Well, yeah, I think that they can, and they obviously do go have sex with the daughters of man. The point of that is, though, that these angels are not following.
They're not. Yeah, they're not in
doing
their
what they're
proper
supposed
place.
to be doing. That's my point. They're not supposed to be up there in heaven having sex.
No,
but they come down and they do have sex, and so there's a lot of points I want to get into, but we won't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I think that's kind of what we're going to hold today. Before we jump too far into this flood conversation and we get into, further into chapter 6 and then into chapter 7, where we begin to look at, the ark being built and then ultimately the flood itself.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Just something to, I guess, chew on, and something I've been thinking about a lot, is Galatians chapter 5, verse 9. And it says, "A little yeast leavens the whole lump." And I think that's what we kind of see before the flood as well. Just how things, again, it's a spiral downward. That a little yeast, I mean, you wouldn't think of just, again, disobeying God, eating that apple, leads to the Canaanites making weapons of war, to all of these, again, like this spiral downward and all of these bad events that happen. And then you get to even where God says, that he saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination and thought of the human heart was only evil. You see that. You wouldn't think, I don't think you could, get just eating an apple to that. Yeah. But you can clearly see how it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
One doesn't necessarily equal the other, but there's clearly a slippery slope that, one definitely does lead you down the path to the other.
Yeah. No, I think it's very interesting to look at, because you don't ever think about, because I think it's the fact that we're looking at such a large period of time. You don't ever think that, next week, the action that you're, doing, the decision that you make, you're going to see like the butterfly effect it has over thousands of years.
Yeah.
But we have the opportunity to see that right here. And I know today was a lot of just like scripture reading. Like we didn't get too much into any specific thing. But I think what's important about this chapter 5 that we just read, even though it seems like really unimportant and void of any meaning, I think it shows you how much time is taking place. And then you go from seeing Cain's family line, Tulamech, what was his name?
Tubal-Cain.
Tubal-Cain, yes, it had tool in it. Tubal-Cain, creating these kind of weapons, basically. You go from there to then, only wickedness being in man's heart. So that's why I think chapter 5 is so important, because you're seeing all this like all this stuff. You see only one man walk with God in this whole time.
Yeah.
You see only one, that's the only one that it's mentioned, his relationship with God. So I think you can draw a lot of conclusions as to where mankind is really heading. And I mean, no other time do you have the opportunity to look at such a vast number of years in a few verses.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think it's interesting to see, because, like, again, this is the beginning of civilizations, right? You're not born into these nations that already have these identities, and these are already the gods we worship, kind of a thing. So I guess you're kind of neutral, I almost want to say, like as neutral as you could be, I guess, that you're seeing neutral people either choose to obey or disobey God. Kind of in a sense. And I understand also that, 400 years down the line, when there's already, however many, hundreds and hundreds of families all having, the families probably tend to, sway one way or another, like this whole family believes, and this whole family chose to reject God. But I do think it's interesting that you're seeing kind of, I guess, these people who don't have nations and these systems and these gods and temples built and all of this stuff, and you're seeing them, who's going to choose what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to see. And it's interesting to see how man decides to go to the point where there's not a man following God left, almost.
Just about,
That's just about what you see there. So I know we're kind of leaving on a cliffhanger here. I hate to do that. But I think that it's... I think chapter 5 is interesting, all that lineage. And
I think it adds to
the boring. It's like lineage is really important. I mean, depending on the context you're reading scripture. I mean, if you're trying to date things or trying to find out who came from who, like lineage is important.
That's absolutely right. And you think about, it's like, okay, think of it from the lens of the authors. Like if you're trying to explain to people possibly thousands of years in the future that this really happened, we're not lying, please trust us. Are you not going to be super detailed about it? Even in the most monotonous, tedious way. Because, if you just said, well, Adam had a bunch of kids and then Noah showed up. It's like, that is not near as believable as actually listing out, this guy had this kid, this guy lived this long, this guy had this kid, this, it's so monotonous and tedious that it's like, why would you do that if you were just making up a story, it feels like, right? Yeah. Or if you weren't at least intending on being checked on this, that you're putting all these details in there, so please check me, right? Try and figure it out. But I'm telling you the truth. I'm not just trying to give you a story and, put on show.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think it is. I think it's very important. Mm-hmm. So anyways, there's chapter 5 and part of chapter 6.
Just a snippet.
Just a little snippet. That's all you guys get today.
That's right.
Because we fired up video for the first time. So if there's some technical difficulties that end up getting published, we apologize. We are
only human.
Only human. I'm only human. Yeah, just bear with us. This is a kind of a massive learning curve for me.
Yeah.
And Wyatt as well. So hopefully you enjoy.
Yeah.
A new, different way to consume our media.
See our faces, even though we're not necessarily looking at you.
Even though, we're looking at each other, there's still a lot of love in these eyes.
That's right.
That we share. I tried to give you guys a couple glances. Why I didn't do that as much?
What can I say, man? I'm shy.
No. Anyways, we're really excited to see where this new season of the podcast goes.
That's right. It's a new season.
It's a new season. Such a corny word.
Season 2.
Season 2, baby. So there's episode 65 for you in the books. The first video episode, 65 weeks in. Isn't that crazy?
That is wild.
All right.
Over a year.
This was a Stand Firm podcast. Guess what?
We'll see you
next I bet you never realized we held it that long.
That's